What does it take to lead in Asia? I'm here with Rajesh Rathi, the Managing Director of Sudarshan Chemicals, which has become a global force in the pigment industry, led by his bold ambition over the last few years. Rajesh, thank you for taking time for this.
Thank you, Avinash. It's always been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you.
I'd love for you to first describe a bit about the journey and the history of Sudarshan for everyone.
Sure. Sudarshan was started in 1951 by my uncle, who completed his PhD in chemical engineering from USA, along with my father and his brothers. From day one, it was a profit-making company and was based on three major principles. The first arised on meritocracy. So the third brother was made the CEO because he was the most educated. He had done his PhD from US, so first was meritocracy. So even the elder brothers reported into the younger brother. The second was discipline. Discipline in terms of coming on time at work, and especially in the 1950s, coming from a Marwadi family, you never started work at 11, right? Before 11. But there was a rule that everyone had to report at 8:45 a.m. And I remember as a child, even if my father was late by 5 minutes, he was very upset because 1/4 of his day's salary was cut. And that was the second principle. The third was financial discipline. Always plow back the money in the company and lead a very simple lifestyle, right? Going on, I think education became a very important factor in our family. Each young member, whoever wanted to join, had to have a basic engineering or a science degree, coupled with a master's and an MBA from a global university. Otherwise, you were not allowed to join Sudarshan. So these were some of the principles which were laid down. We started our business with pigments, then grew into agrochemicals, engineering, dyes, and other engineering-related businesses.
Lovely. Thank you. And if you think back in the last 5 to 6 years, Sudarshan has truly transformed from a mid-sized company into a global leader. Can you talk us a bit about what was the journey, what was going through your mind? How did you set the ambition?
I think the first bold move for us was we had a JV partnership with Dynapon Ink and Chemicals. And in 2007, we decided mutually both together to end the JV partnership and end our exclusive global distribution agreement with them. At that point, almost 60% of our sales was through that. And we had ambition to build our own sales and start beginning to transform our portfolio. I would say that was the first phase when the ambition or the growth started. In 2000, I would say 17, 18, I very much value our partnership with you and McKanzie, where we created a bold ambition for organic growth. But even before that, we started looking at each of the businesses, whether we should be playing in each of the businesses. I think the answer was very clear. I think we had 3 or 4 criteria for each of the business. Can we make this business world-class? Can we attain global leadership? And if the answer was no, we thought it didn't make sense to be in that business. And that's how we exited most of the business. And currently, Sudarshan is a pure pigment player with one process engineering business, which we have. And we want, and the ambition was to take both of them, make these a world-class and global scale businesses.
And as you did that, so what was the ambition you set for the pigment business, which is sort of the core of what you're doing?
So the pigment business ambition, the first phase was to be amongst the top 3 pigment players. And that was led by organic growth. And the organic growth had 5 pillars, which we very well executed with your partnership. And we became the most profitable pigment company and the number 3 player globally. The next phase was our inorganic growth, and we were looking at various inorganic growth opportunities. And Heubock came as a golden opportunity for us. I think with Heubock, what we got is Heubock's legacy was erstwhile, Clariant, and before that, Hext. Most of the pigment IP was created in this company. So we inherited great pigment IP, great technocrats, and a global manufacturing footprint of 17 manufacturing sites. Sudarshan, on the other hand, was a very customer-centric, agile organization, and by creating these two forces, we feel we could create the world leader of pigments in the future. We are number 2 right now. Our aspiration is to be number 1 and one of the most value-adding pigment companies globally.
Maybe if you could share a little more on the transaction itself, because the transaction that you've done with Heubock takes you to from roughly 250 million to 1.2 billion in a very short period of time. What prompted you to do the transaction? How hard was it to do cross-border M&A? What were some of your learnings?
As I explained, we always had a global ambition, and we wanted to be in the leadership area. As a preparation, we were already preparing for this inorganic growth. Part of our organic growth, we had strengthened our leadership team, where 50% of my leaders were international with truly global experience. So, and I think the entire management had a ambition to grow. So this, when the Heubock deal came to us, I think it was a golden opportunity to meet our aspirations. And as part of our vision, we are getting 17 manufacturing sites globally. It was quite a complex deal. It was part of the business was insolvent and the other part was solvent. So it was an asset purchase deal combined with a share deal. So legally quite complicated, but I would say that we did get a good value for the deal, and that's what kind of also drove us in completing this. I think Heubock brings in, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of IP in pigments, technocrats, and 17 manufacturing sites, which gives us a global footprint. And Sudarshan brings in the agility, entrepreneurship, ambition. By combining these two, we will create a world-class global pigment organization. We are number 2, but our aspiration in the short term is to become a world leader in pigments with the most value-adding pigment player.
As you think of this now, you're going to be integrating Heubock into Sudarshan. What are some of the challenges you foresee or opportunities you see as you do that?
I think the first challenge is how do we create one Sudarshan? One Sudarshan entails many things, one team, one aspiration, and the aspiration being bold. So how do we build in that boldness in the team? Processes and systems which are unified, and this is going to take a lot of energy and a culture change. And how do we create one culture within the company? As we come from now varied geographies, various backgrounds, but having that one culture and being ambitious, these are going to be some of the areas which we are going to aim on. And I think we started the integration management office preparation just one day after we signed the definitive agreements. This has really helped us a lot in preparing for our org structure, day one readiness, and also a lot of value capture ideas. One must remember that parts of this business were not performing well, and we've already scaled up our value capture ideas with our partnership with McKanzie and you.
Thank you. As an Indian company or an Asian company now going global, what are some of the unique challenges that you face or have started facing, whether cultural or with team? You now have assets in Brazil, in Mexico, in markets you've never operated in. So,
So I would step back. I mean, for us, when we had a global ambition, even before we took over, I think the first one was to establish our credibility. Uh, Generally, in some of the larger markets like Europe, US, uh, the players had a little bit of lack of credibility. So first step was to build that credibility. The second was to attract people with hunger and ambition as part of whether it was sales, whether it was my leadership team, really building that leadership team and the sales team with that hunger and ambition was, I would say, a second challenge. Um, these two challenges, I think we did a great job in combining that. As we are moving forward, we are using, while we are creating one Sudarshan, with this acquisition, when I come back to this acquisition, as we are creating this one Sudarshan, I think we are using several principles of meritocracy in combining this as one organization and creating one culture. Some of the uh, some of the challenges which we faced were making some of these difficult decisions. We've never operated in geographies like Japan, Mexico, and Brazil at this scale, uh, and it's very it's a learning experience every day, and but it's very exciting.
in your experience, as you've gone through this journey of first globalizing independently and now through the acquisition, what are some of the leadership traits that have been essential for you personally and as an organization to be able to do it successfully?
I think the first one is being bold and ambitious. And being bold and ambitious and creating that hunger in the organization, right?
Yeah.
The second is building the competency, right? Where we are able to just not dream, but execute well, right? And once our strategy is set, we don't spend hours kind of deliberating the strategy, right? We start executing. And I think execution skills, we are very good at it, executing what we've decided. And through this process, making bold decisions, right? Some decisions, some decisions may not be the best decisions and hard decisions for people, but I mean, we let the business guide us and make those decisions.
If I may add into it, one of my observations of Sudarshan has been you're also okay with, given the importance of relationships in this business, I think you have one of the most complex specialty businesses. You have thousands of SKUs, you have customers across plastics, coatings, inks, special applications. I've lost track of how many customers you have, and you have board members, investors from all over the world. How do you navigate through each of the different cultural differences? What are some of the learnings or reflections you would have?
Uh, I think a great question, Avinash. I think first is having an open mind and listening to people and understanding each of the cultures, right? Um, but some of the principles remain the same across the world, being customer centric, right? Being ambitious, right? So we don't compromise on some of those principles which we are kind of looking at, but most of the markets love some of these principles, right? It's about the minor nuances on how you kind of deal with a Japanese market or a Brazilian market to a European market or to a German market, which is traditional, right? I think learning these nuances and ensuring that my team is aligned to these nuances. That's how we are kind of learning through. And I think every day there's a new learning. I think the most important aspect is that we are not shy to learn. both me and my team.
Yeah.
And we'll continuously keep learning and adapting to what makes sense for each of the geographies.
If I may add a bit into this, because I've seen the organization, I think one of the most unique things I observed was Indians are viewed as chaotic. What we view as agility, the world views as chaotic. And therefore, many things are sometimes not on time, process changes, etc. But in this deal process, one of the things I've seen you and the organization therefore do well is just small things: start meetings on time, finish them on time, right? Ensure when a process is set and responsibilities are set, you do that. So I think there are other things like just being appreciative and being cognizant of what the other's culture values and incorporating that into your operating model, which I think has made it quite good for Sudarshan.
No, very good point, Avinash. And I think being process driven and as a culture in Sudarshan, being process driven, respecting people's time has been an important aspect as we grow. And I think one of the areas also feedback which I got from while we were doing the integration, saying that really having mutual respect, the entire team, and really welcoming the other side, right? I don't think we look at this as acquisition, but the two companies truly coming together.
Yeah,
has been some of the other areas I would add to that.
You have, I think, some of the most unique values that I've seen in any organization. If you could talk a bit about them.
So I think our values stem around being customer centric, and we've used particularly the Sanskrit Indian word seva as one of our values. And seva comes, how do you describe this in English, right? It's service without being selfless.
Selfish.
Without being selfish, sorry.
Yeah.
Without being selfish, and serving, through your heart, as they say, Atithi Devo Bhava, right? With that attitude. So serving our customers, being passionate, being ambitious, right, have been some of our cornerstone. We have very 5 strong values driving that.
One of the challenges or opportunities again for Asian businesses and houses has been the journey of transitioning from primarily family-led to having more professionals in the business. You have made that transition quite seamlessly, or it seems seamlessly, to the outside world. Maybe if you could talk a bit about that journey, because you had, I think, more than 8-9 family members at some point involved in the business.
Right. So let me, at the peak in 1990s, I think we had 14 family members working in the company in various businesses. At that time, our founders decided that this is not sustainable, and they decided to break up the businesses. And within the Sudarshan group, which included Sudarshan and some of the engineering group, you're right, there were 7 or 8 of us at one point. As time went on, I think, always business came first. If the business didn't make sense and we had to exit the business, the promoter decided to kind of exit the group but stay as an investor, right? And as we started growing, the family made a unanimous decision that meritocracy should kind of really being the predominant factor, and we should start slowly professionalizing the organization. And in the last 10 years, I think, we've gone through this journey, and there are various promoters at different, some remain as promoters and board members. Some are pure investors of the company, but all mean well for the organization. And I think all of them are very proud of the way the organization has grown.
What are some of the other things you've done to professionalize the organization?
One important factor, just to add on, I think trust has been a very important factor within as we started professionalizing this. At the same time, we started building a good pipeline of leaders, right? And as both we started recruiting in India and from globally. And part of my leadership team, even before this acquisition, 50% of them were international, right? The some of and one common characteristic of my leadership team was being bold and ambitious, and that was one of my jobs, to ensure that I coach them and kind of direct them in this direction, that we are all, we all have one aim of being a global leader and being world class.
As a CEO of a multinational now, what are some unique challenges you face in operating across global geographies, and how are you dealing with them?
So, Avinash, I think creating this one Sudarshan and one culture is going to be very important as we go forward. And it's not just about processes, but it's also about people, right? And one important decision I've made is that I will move to Frankfurt and create a second global headquarter.
Wow.
So I'm going to spend about 50% of my time. And it's important that I understand people, the culture, and what the challenges are. I truly believe that I know it's a contrary view, but Germany is still a place to make specialities. And we want to ensure that our German sites are jewel in our whole manufacturing setup. And with this ambition and creating a second global headquarter, I would kind of be spending a lot of time there. I expect my leaders to spend both time, if it's an Indian-based leader, spending a lot of time in the other parts of the geography, especially Germany, and my international leaders also to spend a lot of time in India, so that we understand each other well. That's one area. The second nuance always, and this has been whether you're a multinational, etc., each geography has a very unique way. So if I give you an example, when I'm setting up the ambition and budgets for India, I would even set up, my sales head would give me a target of 125 but deliver 100, right? So I already discount that in my mind and I set up that ambition. When a German is getting a target, he's not, getting a target accepted with him even of a small increase is tough. But once he gets that target, he would deliver that, or he will over deliver. And so these are some of the nuances which I've learned, and I kind of work with them well.
You, as an institution, you do something else also, which I find quite interesting. You have a very strong emphasis on diversity and inclusion. And so I remember walking through one of your sites where you've got a lot of only women operators in certain parts, if I look at the blend of leadership. So how do you think about that as an institution, as an individual?
So I think sustainability in our organization has been important, and part of it diversity and inclusivity. So I always believe it starts from the top, and today 30 to 40% of our board comprises of women, right? The second unique thing our people practice head has done is that we've hired more than 250 women on the chemical shop floor. This is unheard in the industry, and there was a great opposition when we started this initiative. But I think now there is more demand. I think we find the women operators, the plants producing the highest quantity, best quality, etc. So the parameters which the women operators deliver are much better. Much better. So it's a big challenge to our male folks here. The second, I think the second bit, we are looking at specially abled people wherever we can, and that's our second initiative to drive.
You're a company, and as an individual, you make contrarian bets, right? At the time when the industry had enough capacity, you went out and set up a lot more capacity, but said you get the lowest cost. When everyone said, don't do this Heubach transaction, it's going to be a mess, you're going to blow things up, you said, no, you're going all in, and you made it happen. I remember even all the supporters, mentors, board, everyone was sort of worried about it. When Everyone said you should shut down Frankfurt. You said, no, you're going to make it a jewel in your crown. So what's the next big contrarian bet? Or what's your vision for Sudarshan in 10, 20 years, which is completely different
Right.
from what we would expect?
So I think the fundamentals, our fundamentals are strong. Our first area would be to really integrate this and make this acquisition a great success. We want to become a world leader in pigments, and we want it to become the most value-adding pigment player globally. That's our first. That's our first ambition. After this, we would start seeding in different businesses. As we want to grow, we really want to become one of the largest specialty chemicals player out of Asia, and that's our vision and aim to go forward.
The true global leader from Asia.
Right. Absolutely, a true global leader from Asia, and I truly value our partnership with you and McKanzie. I think you all have truly helped us grow and become what we are today.
Thank you. You're very kind, Rajesh. Thank you. Last question for you. So, what advice would you have for Indian companies that are looking to go global, or aspiring young Indian players that want to leave their mark?
Avinash, I don't know whether I'm the right guy to give advice, but I can kind of share my experience. I think some of the fundamentals of having a global ambition, right? Truly understanding the global culture, what it takes to grow in every market, creating that hunger in your own organization to grow, and having that global mindset. These are going to be important, and always, cash is king. So really, kind of focusing on cash and how we kind of grow, and and how we keep adding value in each area, having a competitive advantage, really spelling out what's our winning formula in each of the markets is again a very important aspect.
Okay. Thank you, Rajesh, for taking time out for this discussion. We really appreciate it, and your partnership means a lot to us. So thank you.
Avinash, always been a pleasure speaking with you, and thank you so much, Avinash.